the Social Security Scotland Act 2018, Carers Assistance, Consequential Modifications Order 2026.
I call the Minister to move the motion.
Thank you, Sir Christopher, and it's a pleasure to serve under your chairship. I beg to move that the committee has considered the draft the Social Security Scotland Act 2018 Carers Assistance Consequential Modifications Order 2026 laid before the House on the 8th of December. I'm grateful for the opportunity to debate this order today. As with all the Scotland Act orders we have considered since the start of this Parliament, this is a result of collaborative working between the UK and Scottish Governments. The order before us will be made under Section 104 of the Scotland Act, which, following an Act of the Scottish Parliament, provides the power for consequential provisions to be made to the law related to reserved matters or the laws elsewhere in the UK. Chair, Scotland Act orders are a demonstration of devolution in action, and I am pleased to say that the Scotland Office has taken through 12 orders since this government came to power in July 2024. The Scotland Act 2016 devolved responsibility for certain social security benefits and employment support to the Scottish Parliament. This included carers allowance, which the Scottish Government replaced with a carer support payment in 2023. This order is being brought forward to make provisions in consequence of further changes that the Scottish Government has made to its carer support payment. The Scottish Government requested this order, and the UK Government has worked collaboratively with them on the draft order, showcasing devolution in action. The draft order under consideration today makes amendments to relevant UK and Northern Ireland legislation as a consequence of the Carers Assistance, Miscellaneous and Consequential Amendments, Revocation, Transitional and Savings Provisions, Scotland Regulations 2025, which were made on the 6th of November 2025 and came into force for the provisions relevant for this order on the 15th of March 2026. The Scottish Government's regulations introduce additional support for those receiving carer support payment and caring for more than one person, the carer additional person payment, extend support for carers from 8 to 12 weeks after the death of the person they care for, and a new Scottish carer supplement which will replace for most carers the carers allowance supplement currently paid under Section 81 of the Social Security Scotland Act 2018. This order will ensure that the changes the Scottish Government is making to the carer support payment are reflected in reserved benefits. In summary, this order makes consequential amendments to UK legislation to reflect the introduction of changes to the carer support payment in Scotland. It is an example of devolution in action, is about the UK Government working with the Scottish Government to deliver for the people of Scotland, and reflects the continued strong cooperation between the Scottish and UK governments.
The question is that the committee has considered the draft Social Security Scotland Act 2018 Carers Assistant Consequential Modifications Order 2026. Andrew Brown.
Thank you very much, Sir Christopher, and it's a pleasure to serve under your chairmanship this afternoon. The consequential modifications are uncontroversial in and of themselves, serving only to substitute wording across existing legislation, updating previous regulations to reflect the change in definition of carer support payment. This order, as the Minister has set out, amends the defined terms in social security legislation to reflect the introduction of carer support payments as introduced in the 2023 Carers Assistance Carer Support Payment Scotland Regulations 2023 and the Carers Assistant Miscellaneous and Consequential Amendments, Revocation, Transitional and Saving Provisions Scotland Regulations 2025, as provided for by the Scottish Government Social Security Act 2018. Whilst this order itself is technical and necessary, and we will not stand in its way, I would like to speak to the wider context of this instrument also. This order follows the introduction of the 2023 regulations, an instrument of the Scottish Parliament which acted to replace the carers allowance in Scotland, originally under the Department for Work and Pensions, to a new type of benefit serving the same original purpose, the carers allowance in Scotland administrated by Social Security Scotland. It is my view that the legislation epitomises the Scottish Government's bureaucratic tendencies at the expense of Scottish taxpayers. In the wake of the failed bid for independence in 2014, the Smith Commission set out provisions for greater devolution, and the powers for devolution were, as a result, set out in the Scotland Act 2016. And from that flawed experiment, we now know that it matters not how much is given. For the nationalists, it will never be enough. Where devolution serves simply to duplicate work already undertaken more efficiently and at lower cost by the Department for Work and Pensions, we must ask whether the Scottish equivalent represents value for money for taxpayers, or whether this is simply yet another marketing exercise for those who would wish to create more separation between us. The division of payments for carers into a parallel system creates a new level of bureaucracy and adds complication in the system, which we think is quite unnecessary. Those already in receipt of carers allowances would have to reapply for carer support payment if relocated to Scotland, creating barriers within the United Kingdom, just as NHS Scotland unable to share data and records with NHS England, prevents seamless care across the United Kingdom. Sir Christopher, we do not wish to stand in the way of the statutory instrument today, which seeks to make technical adjustments to existing legislation as a result of the 2023 regulations and the 2025 regulations. However, I do wish to put on record the frustration of the official opposition with the Scottish Government's endless duplication, waste and inefficiency, which is costing Scottish taxpayers dear.
Susan Murray.
Thank you very much, Christopher, and it's a pleasure to serve under your chairship. On the basis that these SI updates of UK social security law reflect changes made by the Scottish Government to the carers' benefits and accounts for updates to the carers' support payment, which replaces the carers' allowance in Scotland, 2 new Scottish carer payments, the carer additional person payment and the Scottish carer supplement, and the welcome extension of support for carers from 8 to 12 weeks after death. These and the changes ensure that the Scottish benefits interact correctly with the UK-wide reserved benefits. The Liberal Democrats are supportive. Thank you.
Minister.
Thank you, Sir Minister. And I would like to thank honourable members for their contributions today, and to the honourable member for West Aberdeenshire and Kincardine, thank you for your support for the technical nature of this change, but also I would note and share his view that the Scottish Government is indeed incredibly careless with taxpayers' money, and we would go further in our party and on this side, and indeed on behalf of the Government, say that actually they're addicted to wasting money. So that point is noted in a point of agreement between us, and I'd also like to thank the honourable member for Mid and Bartonshire for her party support for these changes. And with that, in closing, this instrument demonstrates the continued commitment the UK Government has to work with the Scottish Government to deliver for Scotland, and I therefore commend this order to the House and beg to move.
The question is that the committee has considered the draft Social Security Scotland Act 2018 Carers Assistance Consequential Modifications Order 2026. As many as can say aye. Aye. Contrary no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. Order. Order.
Thank you.